Now let's go to today's post in Choosing Beggars. I won't invite you to my baby shower, but you better get me a gift.
Don't work says why would you buy a present if you're not invited? Nonsense.
I just live it here for a while says if something, it is very rude and offensive not to invite yourself into the baby shower. She basically made it very clear that the writer is not her family.
Permanently Mc says since no one's done it, I will original post. https://red.itcbc3jm.
Dead47 says if you're considered immediate family, wouldn't it be etiquette to be invited? Can't have it both ways.
BLACKBB601 says alright everyone on Reddit. I'm having the baby shower also. No one here is invited. Please send me gifts.
Nagshedlical says one of the first things my mother taught me about etiquette was that if you are not invited, birthday, wedding, etc., you are not on the hook for a gift. A few years back a woman in my office got married and a week or so before the event she sent out an email to the entire department, like 200 plus people, saying that she was sorry she couldn't invite everyone due to space limitations, but she included a link to her gift registry and a note that money was always welcome. You could tell when people were reading the email as up and down the hall you could hear people either snorting in anger or saying fuck you, bitch, as they deleted the email.
Now let's go to today's post in Old School Cool. Franklin D. Roosevelt Jr. in college, fall of 1937. Unassuming Dink says he married a DuPont, did a couple terms in Congress, and died in the 80s. FDR3 is still alive, but pretty old.
Deleted, says, removed.
Blipbit 558 says did FDR Jr. bully me in high school?
Jason Interwobe says they don't make coats like that anymore. Look at that lining.
Immortamature says I never knew pictures of that quality existed back then. Is this restored?
Wasted Layton says President Pussy Cruiser.
Now let's go to today's post in technology. Americans shouldn't have to drive, but the law insists on it. The automobile took over because the legal system helped squeeze out the alternatives. Swingeroff Birch says great movie from my childhood goes into this in great detail. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Accountantmeter says I didn't realize it was due to zoning laws that you all had such brilliantly large gardens and open spaces.
Yankerage says this town needs a monorail.
Ohio 4455 says personally, I love to drive, but, damn, a high-speed rail would be so clutch.
Ronin Tetero says automated speed cameras are a proven life-saving technology. I'm almost positive I've read years of commentary to the contrary.
BF1 Shy says outside of major cities, you cannot exist without a car. Most places don't even have sidewalks. Driving should be a privilege in life, not a requirement to live.
Now let's go to today's post in Nintendo. First look at Nintendo Switch Lite.
Felix Holmes says tired of sharing your Joy-Cons? Just buy a Switch Lite and tell those pesky kids to buy one for themselves.
SANDISKPLAYER 34 says quick look at the specs. 5.5-inch 720p display 91.1mm x 208mm x 13.9mm 275G 32GB storage USB-C connector 3570 mAh battery gray, yellow, and turquoise. Pokemon Zacian and Zamazenta edition coming on 11/8 as well, 19,980 yen US 99 at launch. Releases September 20th, 2019 in Japan and United States.
Harmless Snack says don't you guys love when you hit up the gym, or skate park, and everybody just breaks out their Switches for some impromptu smash? Good times. I love Nintendo, but these ads always make me laugh.
Aloris says incoming I asked a Switch for Christmas and I received a Lite instead. Posts.
Battle6 says I, too, have been looking for the perfect video game console to take with me to space. JRAM2000 says so now we wait for the Switch XL, like the leaks from a while back.
Now let's go to today's post in politics. I hope Jeffrey Epstein sings like a bird. And if some Democrats go down, so be it.
Entanglementer says I can't speak for others, but in situations like this, I pay less attention to the letter after their names. If they are guilty of these crimes, they all need to go down, regardless of party affiliation.
Dark Descendant says I don't care what party you profess allegiance to. You do the crime, you do the time. WWGI says I agree wholeheartedly.
Reflex Improv says it's not even, so be it. Anyone and everyone involved in this should be behind bars for life, regardless of who they are or what political party they belong to.
Trumpster Fire 2019 says another Redditor nailed this situation perfect. He called this debacle the Epstein-Barr syndrome. Will the now unrecused Barr go in and take this case apart to protect the elites? We will see.
Shapu says meanwhile Roy Moore is running in Alabama despite being unable to campaign in some shopping malls. Ohio Republican Jim Jordan looked the other way when student athletes were getting assaulted by a pervert team doctor. And we're only 3 years removed from several elected Republicans asking a court for leniency for Dennis Hastert after he admitted to paying hush money to a victim of his own sex crimes. Edit, and, our illustrious President Fanta.
Now let's go to today's post in news. New accuser Jennifer Ereos, Jeffrey Epstein raped me in his NYC apartment when I was 15.
Trigold says I wonder how many women that are now grown up will come forward and tell how they were sexually abused and raped by Epstein and others at his parties.
Klaxon 722 says I really hope everyone involved in this feels the full weight of the law. But I'm so pessimistic about it. Rules for the type of thing.
Stew of Puppies says I seriously hope this sick fuck is locked for life. He's gotten away with raping so many minors and it's not even a secret knowledge or anything. People have known for a long time.
Rick Ayers says it's crazy how no one seems to know how Epstein earned his fortune. He claims that he started in 1982 only taking money from investors willing to invest billion, but the richest man in America at that time was only worth billion.
Reddit's oldest account says I've mentioned this a few times but Epstein has to be an intelligence agency asset. Which agency though I'm not sure. He continually gets away with these heinous crimes, but the crimes themselves are a great way to blackmail people. Acosta during confirmation hearings on his lenient treatment of Epstein, he cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he had been told to back off, that Epstein was above his pay grade. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. He told his interviewers in the Trump transition in before why all get into the red team blue team bullshit. Let's just keep exposing this piece of shit and those that enabled him.
Dropodus says man, all these nutso Illuminati conspirated theories about the world being run by a cult of pedis are starting to look a little less batshit crazy these days.
Now let's go to today's post in Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Lite announced.
Kyle 6477 says this is now the megathread for the Switch Lite discussion. Most new posts concerning Switch Lite will be redirected here. Hope you disable notifications. OP.
Nervarex says loved how Koizumi just went. You see that TV right there? Yay, no, it won't connect to it.
HIP13044B says loving how all these promotional things have people going outside to do something active only to stop and whip out the Switch.
Jarlman09 says quick notes. Real D-pad on left side cannot be docked or connected to TV at all. Edit. Not clear if it could be docked for charging only. Slightly smaller screen. 5.5 versus 6.2. Same 720p resolution, slightly better battery life. No details yet. No kickstand, comes in yellow, gray, or turquoise plus special sword and shield edition, lighter than normal Switch with Joy-Cons attached. No IR or HD rumble. Edit. Still has gyro controls, will function with normal Joy-Cons for multiplayer games that require motion. No brightness adjustment. Thanks you Winetier, per The Verge. Edit. The Verge has corrected this mistake to state that it only is lacking an automatic brightness adjustment sensor. Manual adjustment is still possible. 99 price point. Launch date September 20th, 2019.
The Tiger Bite says I feel like this is being released so kids can have their own Switch for the upcoming Pokemon game. I'll let my kids play the Switch dock but won't even let them look at it undocked. Monsters. I see how they treated their DS and 3DS.
Puddleglim says it's the long-awaited Nintendo Kent Switch.
Now let's go to today's post in Damn That's Interesting. When he exposed CIA, this incident was overshadowed by Clinton Lewinsky scandal. The movie Kill the Messenger is about Gary Webb. His character is portrayed by Jeremy Renner. Respect for this man.
T-Prop says weird that after decades of the CIA destabilizing Latin America, there's a huge refugee crisis of Latin Americans.
Hamid says how can anyone accept suicide as a cause of death with 2 bullet wounds to the head? I remember the story but the country was too busy obsessing over the president's consensual liaisons.
Feraksha replies people want hot and spicy news. Gary's death was ruled as a suicide and no one cared. People like you and me never bothered when this information was released, why bother at his death?
Wilbert51 says people need to wake up about our political system in the US and how corrupt it really is.
Soccerpook says when 1 bullet to the head just won't cut it.
Amagasa Mountain says why would the mainstream media vilify him? Edit. After a quick 15 minutes of research, I think it might be unfair to say he was vilified. The Nit and Lot both did their own investigations and concluded that Webb was exaggerating and overstating his case. A rebuttal is not vilification. I'm not going to try and form an opinion about who was right, Webb or the other papers. That's a massively bigger task that I'm not up for. I just don't see that he was vilified.
Now let's go to today's post in Today Learned. Till serial killer Ed Kemper befriended the very police officers investigating his murders, and would socialize with them at a bar called the Jury Room. They called him Big Ed and never suspected him. When he initially confessed, they thought he was pulling a prank.
Trufsiaker says it was crazy that a small city like Santa Cruz actually had 3 serial killers running around at the same time, which made things very difficult for the police, trying to figure out which killer murdered which victim.
Tokiono replies and then they had a spree killer as well. John Linley Fraser.
Chucho89 says on August 24, 1964, Kemper shot his grandmother because, according to him, he just wondered how it would feel to shoot grandma. Dark.
Tokiono says Ed was also in the same block as Charles Manson and Herbert Mullin, in the California Medical Facility. Kemper was incarcerated in the same prison block as other notorious criminals such as Herbert Mullin and Charles Manson. Kemper showed particular disdain for Mullin, who committed his murders at the same time in Santa Cruz as Kemper. He described Mullin as just a cold-blooded killer, killing everybody he saw for no good reason. 54. Kemper manipulated and physically intimidated Mullin, who, at 5 feet 7 inches, 1.70 m, was more than a foot shorter than he. Kemper stated that Mullin had a habit of singing and bothering people when somebody tried to watch TV, so I threw water on him to shut him up. Then, when he was a good boy, I'd give him peanuts. Herbie liked peanuts. That was effective, because pretty soon he asked permission to sing. That's called behavior modification treatment.
Scuzzro says didn't this dude have sex with his decapitated mother's head? At least I remember that from the Netflix show.
Tokiono replies yes. And he cut out her vocal cords and threw them in the trash. Edit. Garbage disposal.
Now let's go to today's post in Ask Reddit. What movie do you consider perfect?
The Big Apple 11 says John Carpenter's The Thing. It's the perfect blend of isolation, paranoia, bloody horror, practical effects, and a shape-shifting alien.
03CE says The Hunt for Red October. Believable characters, believable tech even for the one bleeding edge thing that underpins the whole movie. Deaths are few and significant. Very little in the way of special effects, so what is there doesn't screw things up too badly. It's a repeat watch for me. ZZBC says Stand By Me.
M. Dilibali says Raiders of the Lost Ark is the perfect action movie for me. The intro to Indiana Jones in the Jungle is perfect, even with little dialogue. The pacing is great, the characters are solid, the humor is natural, the environments are diverse, and the music is unforgettable. Just an awesome, fun time.
Alex Ashter says Office Space.
Phoenix Sheridan says Die Hard. Perfect action movie. Also, Alan Rickman.
Now let's go to today's post in Instant Karma. It was not the best idea.
Nickerick Bob says airplane mode when committing crimes. Got it, thanks.
Bragui3K says don't you hate it when you're just there to tag some dick and balls and then your friend goes all neo-Nazi?
German at 0R says props to the guy that found this footage and then went to talk to the networking guy to ask if the Wi-Fi logged anything. Networking guy got to be the hero for once in his life instead of the villain. Edit by villain, I mean always blamed for every problem to do with IT. It was a poor word choice.
GTA Stuff says modern problems require modern solutions.
53 WITHTROLLHAIR says Big Brother is everywhere. People laugh at my flip phone.
Croyan1 says end result of this story.
Now let's go to today's post in Twux Chromosomes. Epstein's victims are not underage women, they're children. The media should refer to them as such.
Running Galisaur says wow, I never thought of this. Even choosing the word women rather than girls makes them feel like they are older and that it's not that big of a deal. Wording is everything.
Blue Velvet says they should be referring to those nude pictures of underage women as child pornography.
QUANTMEMAYBE6 says this is the same passive voice language used when the cop shoots someone. And guy kills a cop. So-and-so murdered police officer XYZ in cold blood. We tied his ass to the back of the police CUizer and dragged him off to jail. Unfortunately he couldn't run, so all that arrived were the cuffs and an armed cop killed the guy. A police firearm was discharged and a person may have been harmed. We ask for your patience as we investigate this matter. And pedophile. So-and-so sodomized and tortured a 6-year-old girl. Rich guy. Pictures which appear to be of young women were allegedly recovered from XYZ Nick townhouse. The townhouse cost $6 million and was renovated over a period of 6 years. And same language was used by the press with Weinstein.
Davidank says there's a perfect word for underage women, girls. His victims were girls. I fucking hate euphemisms.
Bo Belny says you have an excellent point. They were children and teenagers. Just because a girl has gone through puberty and has the body of a woman doesn't make her an adult. She is still a child, or if you want to get technical, a teenager. They should also be calling Epstein a pedophile. Edit, removed the word alleged.
Hawk Coil says this attitude stems from innocence being sexy. It's in all of our films. Lots I've watched as a little girl and now watching as an adult and realizing this is just gross. The virgin and the older man. The ability to be molded, and for the horrible human being doing this to be their first and their everything. Being so fundamentally valuable to this girl in all ways is absolutely about control.
Now let's go to today's post in World News. David Attenborough has highlighted Australia as an extraordinary example of a country where people in power remained climate change deniers despite the country facing some of the worst effects of global heating.
Toblu says Brazil, nervous sweating.
ZWE Punkline says David seems to understand that his time on this planet is up soon, and before he leaves he wants to do all he can to motivate us to protect the planet. If only more people, especially politicians and CS, could be like him. I'm usually against editing comments, but with all the negativity that inevitably comes when discussing climate change, I thought I'd make a comment I made elsewhere about hope little more visible. Not to toot my own horn or anything, all we can do is our best, and hold ourselves accountable. People like Carl Sagan, Sir Attenborough and Mr. Rogers are my heroes because they have a lot of the world watching them and they really used their position for the greater good. No sketchy scandals behind closed doors. No getting bogged down with whether their political view is right, or if their religion is correct, if they had one. They were just kind people that inspired so many children and adults to be the same. As long as we strive to be like that as much as possible, I think there is no reason to hurt. We can't do more than our best, and that's probably the only thing that'll matter on your death. Did I really do enough to be as good a person as I can be, no matter how long my life is or what it holds in store for me? Nothing matters more to me than being able to honestly answer that question with a resounding yes. If there is a heaven, it's only for people that could truthfully say that yes, in my opinion.
Donnie for Prison 2020 says the whole world needs a wake-up call. Wish my country was leading this, instead of being shamefully behind.
M. Hayes says they be dumb. Sir David Attenborough.
Mania for Beatles replies, he replied, I am sorry that there are people who are in power, notably, of course, in the United States but also in Australia, who are climate change deniers, which is extraordinary because Australia is already facing having to deal with some of the most extreme manifestations of climate change. Both in Australia and America, Those voices are clearly heard and one hopes that the electorate will actually respond to those, he said, just that in a very roundabout way. Deep Chungus says LOL, we voted our shitty climate denying government back in because a new massive coal mine was going to make 3,000 new jobs. Fucking just nuke the lot of us, there's nothing of worth here.
Now let's go to today's post in public freakout. Woman repeatedly hits man on camera.
PF Mirrorbot says Mirror I am a bot feedback jithib.
Cowabunga Papermill says description her video, captured in Brisbane, Queensland, appears to show the man being hit over and over again outside a convenience store. According to the man's friend, the girl allegedly began by asking for money from the group. She mentioned she was from Emerald and my mate replied classic Emerald, he said. This is her reaction to that. The man also suggested that the girl would end up facing no consequences for her actions, given that he was attacked by a girl. I feel like she won't get in trouble and nothing will happen because she was hitting the guy and it wasn't the other way around, he wrote.
Fengad says I love the not bad Obama face.
Doom song on repeat says one of these days she's gonna try that with the wrong man and end up in the hospital.
A watchful verse says so this guy is a quest critical NPC.
Rude Dude says she dresses the way she acts like an 8-year-old.
Now let's go to today's post in Murdered by Words. New to redid. Hope it belongs.
Beabalibagone says given the popularity of this post, I'd like to remind everyone of Bill and Ted's Law, be excellent to each other.
Cement Feathered Beard says this is a screenshot of an Instagram story of a Facebook comment on a screenshot of a tweet. WTF.
Habisham says I asked my boyfriend if he would still love me if I grew a penis and he said we would be good friends, haha, good enough for me. Hopefully I don't grow that penis now.
My mom's Ace No says yeah, I'll still love you, we'll be great pals, but I won't find you attractive anymore. Would you like me to help you pack?
Dinosaurus Chen says you might be new to Reddit, but your post is certainly not. You're gonna fit right in.
Amirthaboard replies best compliment I ever received. Face with tears of joy.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.